Good afternoon. We're going to begin this meeting. Thanks everyone for their patience. I want to welcome everyone to this forum sponsored by the College Futures Foundation and thank the foundation and its CEO, Regent Emerita Monica Lozano. I also want to thank UCLA for hosting us today. This is a public meeting of the Special Committee to select a president, and as such, the meeting is open to the public and is being live streamed. And before we begin the formal part of the forum, we will have a public comment session in accordance with Regents policy. The Regents policy guiding a presidential search is quite detailed as to process. For those interested, that policy can be found on the Regents website. It's Regents Policy 7701. The policy prescribes the board chair appoint the Special Committee of Regents who are sitting before you today. This is the first presidential search in which the Special Committee is going beyond that policy to make itself available for input from stakeholders and to the public. Today's forum is one of these events. The members of the Special Committee are committed to providing opportunities for input from all. The College Futures Foundation sponsored a similar forum at UC Davis in December, during which the Special Committee heard from several other higher education organizations. In addition, the Special Committee will be holding several open town halls on other UC campuses in the coming weeks. The first one will be on Thursday at UC Riverside. All are invited to attend, to listen, or to give public comment. That meeting will also be video live streamed. Please check the presidential search webpage on the UC Regents website for specific information on other upcoming events. Alternatively, contact the Office of the Secretary of the Chief of Staff for that information. We welcome continued input from members of the public at these future events or by submitting comments and or nominations of candidates to the email address listed on the presidential website. The Special Committee hopes to conduct the recruitment quickly to bring a recommendation to the Board of Regents before the summer. Do I want to go to her first, or do I want to?
Yeah, do this one.
Yeah. All right, so we will begin the public comment period now, and we'll explain the procedures for that.
Okay, thank you. So the notice you received when you entered the auditorium set out the guidelines for public comment. This afternoon we have 12 individuals who signed up for this portion of the meeting. So we ask if each individual speaker for this portion of the public comment session limit themselves to 2 minutes each. I won't give you a warning, however, I have a little timer that will go off after 2 minutes. So I appreciate it if you'd be mindful. When that time is up, if you could yield the microphone to the next speaker so we can hear from everyone this afternoon. I'm going to call 6 names at a time, so I'll call the first 6, and then after they speak, I'll call the second 6. So if you could be ready, sort of queue up near the microphone that's at the front of the audience when I've called your name. Any order you wish to speak in is just fine. Just please let us know who you are before you begin. To hear from as many and all of you, the Regents do not use these public comment sessions for an exchange with speakers. Any questions that arise will be referred to appropriate staff. And written material in comment is also important to the Regents. You may give any written materials you've brought with you to our staff member, Tricia, who's somewhere in here, but we'll get your written material if you have it. And if you don't finish your statement and you have that in writing, we'll also take that. So, moving along, we'll first hear from Ernesto Arcenega, Tina Trude, Alexia Hatun, Martin Adamian, Alice Lee, and Ashley Michelle. And once again, 2 minutes each.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ernesto Arciniega. I'm currently a PhD student here at UCLA, as well as a former undergraduate student from UC Berkeley. I'm also the founder of the Hispanic Latinx Graduate Student Association. I would like to voice my opinion to this committee on the criteria for the selection of the new UC president. Under the leadership section of the criteria document published in the Presidential Search website, it is stated that the candidates should demonstrate a track record of advocacy for diversity, equity, and inclusion. In this light, I would like to ask and recommend this committee to please ensure that candidates are really aware about the diversity issues that affect California and our 10 campuses, particularly in the low numbers of underrepresented students admitted and retained in the UCs, as well as the lack of a laying foundation where these students can succeed. With this said, the next president's initiatives on diversity should not promote diversity quotas for the sake of fulfilling required numbers and percentages. The next president has to have an honest and clear vision on what diversity, equity, and inclusion mean. This has to be a requirement. The new president's leadership should sincerely display behavior that enlightens commitment to inclusion. The criteria should look for what makes a candidate's leadership experience and future commitment to diversity as innovative, original, and creative, as opposed to good or merely adequate. This has to be a priority. It is not about fulfilling diversity quotas for the sake of numbers. It is about looking for a leader with a larger social consciousness, who truly commits to defend the voice of the voiceless. Thank you very much for listening and understanding.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Tina Treude. I'm a professor of marine geomicrobiology in the departments of Earth, Planetary and Space Sciences and Atmospheric and Oceanic Sciences. Given that the current search criteria for the new UC president make no mention of the climate crisis, the UCSD Green New Deal movement initiated a petition to the UC Regents asking that the climate focus be added to the search for a new UC president. As a supporter of this petition, I would like to introduce the petition to the UC Regents, and if I can't finish, I have it here on paper for you. To provide context for this petition, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, also known as IPCC, has called for rapid, far-reaching, and unprecedented changes in all aspects of society to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030 to have a chance to limit global heating to the critical threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius. Indeed, UC President Napolitano and all 10 chancellors signed the Climate Emergency Declaration in September 2019. So why is there no focus on climate crisis in the search for a new UC president? Is it possible that UC believes it has already done something substantial on the climate crisis? However, UC's proposed plan, known as carbon neutral by 2025, has major shortcomings. They include a lack of accountability, a problematic reliance on offset mechanisms and biogas, and a delayed reckoning with Scope 3 aviation and transportation emissions, deferred to as distant as 2050. The next UC president must quickly put resources and accountability mechanisms into a bona fide emission reduction, known as decarbonization plan, and reorient the teaching and research missions of all 10 campuses to adequately meet the climate crisis. I guess my time is over, but I have the petition here for you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Ashley Michelle. I'm a third-year undergraduate here at UCLA. I am majoring in labor studies, which is the first of its kind here at the UC. So this issue of labor really hits close to home, also because I've worked in dining services for the past 2 years. During my time, I've worked alongside several workers who have treated me like family. They're some of my greatest supporters here at UCLA, so it pains me to hear their stories about having to commute sometimes 2 hours because they cannot afford to live in Los Angeles. This is just one example of how this contract fight has affected workers' lives. Another example is my friend Vilma, who was my residence hall's housekeeper. She works 7 days a week and juggles 2 other jobs because her wages from housing and hospitality services are not enough. This woman who constantly reminds me that my education is an investment and always reminds me to ponerme las pilas, or that basically means like, put a lot of effort into school, is employed by an entity that devalues her work. This is unacceptable, and the UC should strive for better. I've also witnessed the arrival of subcontracted workers at higher rates than in years past. I, a student, have had to train them sometimes, and each time they come in, we have to retrain them over and over again. So this has created a negative effect in the workplace. With these experiences in mind, I stand by AFSCME's demand to find a president that respects the dignity of workers and students' demands to also uphold the prospect of a sanctuary campus. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. My name is Alexia, and I'm an undergraduate at UCLA, as well as a member of the Student Labor Advocacy Project. I'm here today because our current UC president, Jen Napolitano, has failed the workers and students of the UC system, and I'm here to voice, words demanding better out of our next UC president for workers and for students. Under Jan's leadership, the UC has refused to provide the workers of AFSCME 3299 with a fair contract, and they've been in negotiations for almost 3 years now, demanding respect, dignity, and job security. And the UC, under Jan's leadership, has also refused to end its illegal and exploitative outsourcing practices. So I'm here to voice solidarity with AFSCME in the search for a new UC president who will respect the dignity of labor and that will end outsourcing. There would be no UC system for me to attend and get my education at without the workers who make this campus function each and every day. And just knowing the sacrifices that the workers here make to make our campuses function just deepens my sense of solidarity with them as we try to find leadership that can provide justice for them and fair conditions for them. I'm also here in solidarity with the immigrant community at UCLA and across the UC system. Jen Napolitano herself oversaw the deportation of over 2 million people in her time as the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, and her UC administration has failed to make the UC a sanctuary campus. And I just think that the next UC president and our UC leadership should be leaders in providing an environment that is safe and secure for all students at this university, for all workers at this university, regardless of their immigration status. And I would hope that, under the next UC leadership, we have a president who is able to provide safety and to ban ICE, CBP, and all federal immigration agencies from campus. I think a few years ago, in November 2017, students from across the university, from all 9 campuses, undergraduate campuses, and from student organizations from each campus released demands in solidarity with campus labor, which included a demand for sanctuary. So just reiterate those demands. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alice. I am a senior studying applied math at UCLA. And before coming to UCLA, one of the things that I was most excited about coming here was that this was going to be my sanctuary away from my immigration status because I'm undocumented. And I truly believe that the UCLA will protect me and support me in my studies as their students, as you commit to providing the environment that all the students at UC can thrive in. But when I realized that UCLA is actually not a sanctuary campus and anyone can be exposed to the threat of deportation and family separation on campus, near campus, I felt very unsafe and not supported. UCLA is way too complacent to take a stronger stance on protecting immigrant students, their own students, and they're hiding behind the state sanctuary law to avoid committing to protecting their own students. So today, I, as your own UC student, demand all UC campus to be an actual sanctuary campus, to live up to your commitment to providing an environment that all students can thrive in so that more than 1,000 undocumented students and workers can focus on their work without the fear of deportation. The California Values Act does not really protect our students and workers from being detained and deported on and near our campus. And I also demand that that our workers at AFSCME 3299 are respected and fairly given contract that they deserve for their work to make this campus a lot more welcoming than our president has made it for me. I ask you to please refrain from nominating someone who has an extensive history of hurting the students and their families, like President Napolitano, who ripped away 2 million people from my family, my friends, my community. If you've seen what's been happening at the border and you are heartbroken to see children ripped away from parents, please remember that it's been going on and our own UC president has been doing it for several years to 2 million families. And I want you to know that we deserve someone better. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Martin Adamian, and I'm a student organizer with Anakbayan at UCLA. I'm a third-year undergraduate student of history, and I'm here today because our current UC president, Janet Napolitano, has failed the workers and students of the UC system, and we demand better out of our next UC president. I unite with the calls of previous speakers for a new UC president that will respect the rights of our UC workers, that will defend our undocumented Black and Brown communities. I unite with the call to cut all ties of the UC system with US imperialism as it intensifies its assault on the oppressed countries of the world. I unite with the call to end all presence of the UC military on UC campuses. I'd like to shed light on some of the other anti-worker, anti-student, anti-people policies that Janet Napolitano's administration carried out, besides the aforementioned outsourcing illegal and exploitative practice. That Janet's administration engaged in suspicious budget practices, including the failure to disclose $175 million in reserves, according to the 2017 California State Auditor's report. And according to a different independent report, Janet herself approved of a plan to pressure the 10 UC campuses to give doctored positive feedback on her administration in the 2016 Auditor's Survey to the UC campuses. We cannot have another UC president like Janet Napolitano. It was a failure of the Regents to select Janet Napolitano and to not remove her sooner. Under Janet's leadership, the UC has refused to provide the workers of AFSCME 3299 with the respect, dignity, and fair contracts that they deserve. We demand the end of the illegal and exploitative outsourcing practices. As a pro-worker, pro-immigrant, pro-student, and anti-fascist student organization, Anak Bayan at UCLA reaffirms the demands of SLAP and further demands that the next UC president fulfill the demands of students across the UC to support workers' rights.
Thank you. Our next six, or final six: Selena Lee, Justin Rodriguez, Kareem Elzain, Alundra Aralis, sorry if I can't read your writing, Francisco Javier Asuna Zayos, and Dashay Richmond.
Hi, my name is Justin Rodriguez, and I am a current sophomore here at UCLA, studying economics and labor studies. The main thing I want to say, is that students are here against Janet Napolitano. I'm currently here with the Student Labor Advocacy Project, but two other organizations that I'm a part of put out statements urging the Regents to select someone better than Napolitano was. Mecha, the UCLA, put out a statement this morning, and so did the USAC Gen Rep 1 office, and that is the Student Council of UCLA. Yeah, we're gonna keep coming back. Whether or not, you're here, or you're Riverside, or whatever, we're gonna keep organizing. We need someone who is actually an ally to, or at least supports at all undocumented students on campus, workers, student workers, and Napolitano did none of those things, and in fact was actively hostile. Please do a better job selecting this one.
Hi, my name is Alondra Avalos. I'm a second-year student. Here, I'm currently double majoring in sociology and labor studies. I'm also part of the Student Labor Advocacy Project and IDEAS, which is an undocumented student organization. Under the current administration of Janet Napolitano, the UC has provided words of superficial comfort to our undocumented community. They have failed to enact any action that will prove the sincerity behind their words. We need a UC president that will speak with their actions and will help in turning the UC into a sanctuary campus, formally banning ICE, CBP, and all federal immigration agencies from entering campus. We do not need lies that will provide us comfort. We need decisive action that will provide us with a safe environment, not provide added stress to our lives. The undocumented community is not the only community affected, as workers have suffered under the current administration. Their current fight, almost amounting to 3 years currently in a fair contract, is ridiculous. I will say that we stand by AFSCME in their fight for a fair contract and want a UC president that is willing to provide one. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kareem, and I'm a graduate student in the education department at UCLA. I'm also one of the founders and leaders in the Bruin Excellence and Student Transformation Grant Program, which works with activists on campus. I've been here a while, 7 years now, and I haven't really seen that much in the way of changes, especially considering the fact that there was a growing tide of oppression and violence against people of color, immigrants, and all poor people across this country. The Regents have an opportunity to take a stand against this tide of violence. And to be honest, the Office of the President, led by Napolitano, did the bare minimum in this regard, essentially engaging in practices of appeasement whenever impacted communities had something to say or protested the lack of action or care. So Napolitano, in this regard, has also been widely anti-labor, with almost every single union contract that's been up taking years to negotiate and often resulting in declining sort of pay and rights for every single worker group on this campus. That's not just a single thing. It's a strategy. It shows a sort of orientation that's not only with the president, but I assume also, hopefully, with the Regents, and something that you all will reconsider. With the Jan's decision, the UC should not be licking their lips at the opportunity to screw over workers. They shouldn't be joining in attacks against low-income workers that are happening across this country. They shouldn't. This includes the AFSCME efforts to secure a fair contract that has been going on for 3 years, as many people have mentioned. The future UC president should prioritize UC as a sanctuary campus, actively support workers, and fight to make the UC a place where justice thrives. Thank you.
How's it going? So my name is Francisco Javier Osuna Sayas. I'm here today as the intern representative of IDEAS, standing in solidarity with the rest of the students. I am also the IndocuSci coordinator for CCCP, the Center for Community College Partnerships here at UCLA. And not only that, but I come here as a transfer student as well from Mount San Antonio College, an undocumented transfer student, actually. And before I continue, can I just get a raise of hands to see who's a transfer student? Or who was a transfer student? That's what's up, that's what's up. All right, shout out to the transfers. So it has come to my attention that, well, first of all, the reason why I chose UCLA to transfer to was because of its rich history with undocumented student advocacy. Not only that, but the stories of actually Cynthia Felix and Tam Chan were one of the most moving reasons why I decided to come here among schools I could have chose, like Berkeley, UCI, and so on and so forth. If you do not know these names, then I highly suggest that you do your research on these names, because they were students here at UCLA and played a huge component in being agents of change and using their narratives in order to push for undocumented in-state tuition opportunities, right? All I ask is that when choosing the next president, you maintain the interests of undocumented students, and not only that, undocumented transfer students as well, when choosing the next president, so that the next time that I can ask everybody here who's a transfer student, this whole room could say that they're undocumented transfer students. And not only that, but I'm asking you to give me a reason to tell the rest of the undocumented students, the rest of the undocumented transfer students from the community colleges that I oversee, that UCLA is a sanctuary campus for them, that they have a space here for them, and that they are safe here. Now I have to go explain to my boss why I'm late. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Selena Lee. I'm a second-year undergraduate here studying human biology and society and philosophy with a minor in food studies. I'm here on behalf of Swipe Out Hunger, which is a student-run organization that fights food insecurity here on campus. A 2016 study showed that over 40% of the UC has experienced food insecurity during their time on campus. We define that as a lack of reliable access to adequate amounts of nutritious food. So that's 3 components: its reliability, its sufficiency, and its nutritional content. I can personally testify to the fact that a lack of vitamin B, vitamin D, iron, and calcium have a significant impact on my mental health, my physical health, and my ability to do well in an already stressful and competitive academic environment. I believe that the University of California, which is one of the most prestigious universities in the nation and worldwide, should prioritize its student success, and in doing so, it must prioritize its basic needs fulfillment. And that means we should not be tolerating any food insecurity of any of its students, because a university that claims to care about its students it simply cannot tolerate students going hungry. I'm sure you all at UCLA have walked up the stairs, and it's hard enough being here, taking classes, doing all these things that we need to do to succeed. And without that consistent, reliable access to nutritious food, that becomes all but impossible. And so I just want to highlight my program, Swipe Out Hunger. It's a group of 37 students. Oh, it's a group of 37 students, and
Finish up.
it's a group of 37 students, and last quarter alone, we were able to rely on the charity of Students Living on the Hill to donate 14,000 meals to students in need. But even that's not enough. Students are still going hungry. The Economic Crisis Response Team, which we work with, runs out of meal vouchers every single quarter. And so if 37 students can collect 14,000 meals, what can we do with the support of the Regents and the UC president? I have hope for the future of the UC, and I hope that you guys will help me. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm a bit taller here. Hello, everyone. My name is Deshae Richmond. I'm a fourth-year psychology and sociology double major. I serve as the external vice president for the Associated Students at UC Irvine, as well as the chair of the UC Student Association. So coming into college, I come from a lower income background with my family. The only reason that I went to UCI is because they gave me the best financial aid package. However, I came to learn that living in Orange County was very much more expensive than I was anticipating, and really realized the repercussions that not having access to things like because when I first came in, I wasn't aware that our campus had a social worker and somebody that was able to help me out with the resources that I had. So overall, I being in the position that I am, I've learned about these things, but as a student, there's only so much that I can do to advocate for, the increasing funding for this. Being that the UC president is so influential on so many of the aspects that happen throughout not only the state but in the country, they work on that top down. Everybody looks to the UC as like, I want to go to UC or UCLA or UCI but what does that really mean? It's something that's looked up to because, of the prestige that it has. But when our system here at the UC is failing, when students are going hungry, when our workers are striking because their basic needs aren't met, when undocumented students are worrying about their safety and security on campus if ICE is to show up and deport them, all across the round, there's so many students that are underrepresented. And I even from myself, I understand how hard it is to represent these communities. But having a UC president that, understands these issues and truly wants to work with students and make sure that their voices are heard, because at the end of the day, students are what make the university. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Sorry, I didn't have time to add myself to the public comment, but I'll be quick. My name is Maria. I am a former UCLA student, so I'm an alumnus. I also serve on the first ever of its kind undocumented alumni association here at UCLA and nationwide. But today I come on behalf of the organization I'm currently working at, which is Unite LA, and we are an educational nonprofit that does work with LA youth in the country. In the county. So thank you for allowing us to have this moment to speak. Some of the things that Unite LA is looking for in the next UC president are someone that sees the system as a sum of many parts. The next UC president must recognize that the campuses are regional powerhouses and that they serve as partners to local districts, to community colleges, and even their cousins, the Cal States. Additionally, we're looking for someone who embraces all students and their distinct experiences. The next UC president should increase system support for students seeking diversity programs, mental health services. I know we have caps on campuses, but it's nearly not enough for the amount of mental health issues that many of us have faced. Additionally, mentorship experiences are important, and I know that there are legal assistance on campuses, especially for undocumented students, as this political climate is increasingly becoming more violent towards the immigrant community, but it's still not enough. We are also looking for someone who will align the UC system with the needs of the California's workforce needs, and like many of the students here have said, that starts also here on campus with the folks that are the backbone of all UCs. And lastly, we're searching for someone committed to making post-secondary education affordable for all students who have been historically marginalized and continue to be disenfranchised by the cost of tuition, unaffordable housing, transportation, and cost of textbooks. And that is
Thank you to all those who made an effort to get here to speak during public comment. I would now like to once again welcome to the UC Regents board table Regent Emerita Monica Lozano, CEO of the College Futures Foundation. Among her many accomplishments, Monica served as UC Regent from 2001 to 2017, serving as our chair from 2015 to 2017.
Thank you very much, Regent Elliott, Chair Perez, and members of the search committee. As you heard, my name is Monica Lozano, and I'm president of College Futures Foundation, Regent Emeritus, and former colleague to many of you. It's nice to see you all this afternoon. I want to thank the Regents and the search committee for allowing us to support you as you undertake this consequential activity, the selection of the 21st president of the University of California system. We're pleased to co-sponsor this public forum so that the search committee can hear from organizations working in the field of post-secondary education, workforce and economic development, and student success. We come to this with a common goal: strengthening the University of California so that it continues to be the preeminent public university research system, providing pathways to economic and social mobility for diverse students, families, and communities. But this leadership transition comes at a unique moment, the beginning of not just a new year, but a new decade, a time when the nature of learning, work, and the economy have undergone and will continue to undergo significant transformation. Our state's higher education institutions are grappling with big issues, increasing capacity to meet demand, and issues of college affordability. We've heard from the field how important it is for the UC to be dedicated to closing equity gaps, to fulfilling the long-term aspirations of its students, like those that we've heard from this afternoon. This is a powerful moment, and I thank the search committee for their interest in hearing from others. We are honored to partner with the UC in providing this opportunity for stakeholders external to the university to present their views on the next era for the University of California. Thank you very much for allowing us to partner with you.
So we now will have a series of speakers. Just a reminder that each, we have a lot of folks, so each has 3 minutes. Each group has a 3-minute presentation, and then there may be some questions from the audience as well. First is Dr. Carlos Ayala.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
It's this one here.
Okay, great. I hope that didn't eat into my time, because I'm going to go over the 3 minutes. Hi, my name is Carlos Cuauhtemoc Ayala. Thank you for this opportunity. We know that within the next decade, nearly 60% of our students in California will be low-income and typically underrepresented students. We also know that in low-income regions like the state, like the Inland Empire, college attainment remains under 18%. Many students who graduate college-ready from high school choose not to attend. This summer, I met Tony Antonio from an Inland Empire school district, which has specialized programs with all the bells and whistles to prepare him for college. He was accepted to UC Merced. Although excited about attending and returning to serve his community, he was on the fence about attending. Why? Because he was uncertain about the costs. There was also a well-paying job, $16 an hour, and he was worried about being so far away from his struggling family. Tony was assigned to a campus that has space for him. He decided to take the job and his chances at a local community college. Let us hope that he can navigate the complex system of transfers and regain his position in the UC. I'll be speaking on behalf of students like Tony. They are our state's most valuable resource. The next UC president must demonstrate capacity and vision to lead in 3 areas: alignment, access, and approachability. What I mean by alignment is that the UC system should align with the American dream, that college can transform lives, especially economically. I recently attended a California Future of Work Commission meeting in Riverside on 11/15/19. At that meeting, the lead economist for the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank presented some troubling findings. The income level for persons between 40 and 60 years old varies by educational attainment. That is not shocking. Advanced degrees lead to better careers. But what is troubling is that for underrepresented people, there's a startling income gap. The average income for Black non-Hispanics with post-secondary degrees is 50% that of whites, and the average income for Hispanics is 62% of that of whites. The question was raised: is college worth it for underrepresented folks? The presentation can be found online, and in my written notes, I wrote the URL. The president must champion economic mobility. By access, I mean that the system must strive to find ways to make itself accessible to all California students qualified to teach at a research university. According to the College Futures Foundation, regions with the largest proportions of underserved students, like the Inland Empire, there are going to be huge shortfalls for spaces for students. I'm sure you're aware of this. In the IE alone, there will be a shortfall of 20,000 spaces for students. I would argue that the ranking system for acceptance based on GPA, test scores, etc., must be reimagined and more spaces created for students. The second consideration for accessibility is the need for the UC to serve low-income communities. For example, in a region serving institutions like CSU, San Bernardino has 94% of their students come from the local area, but at UCR, the number is under 45%. The non-local, 55% leave after graduation. Changing the ranking system of acceptance criteria to elevate the underserved regions of the state should be a priority. Finally, approachable. The UC president must make the system approachable for the other educational systems in the state. It is apparent that collaborative efforts between pre-K, K-12, community college, California State University, and the UC must be a top priority. After working in the public education for 3 decades, and now as president of Growing Inland Achievement, a nonprofit focused on raising the educational attainment of both Riverside and San Bernardino's counties, it is all too apparent that intersegmental work across systems is necessary. Finding ways, for example, for admissions officers across systems to admit students. The next UC president must work in partnership and lead with the other educational systems to champion students like Tony for the California of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Sure, go ahead.
Dr. Ayala, thank you for your presentation. Could you talk to me a little bit about, on your accessibility point, around, you specifically talked about UCR only has 5% local students. What is the change? 45% local. What is the change that you're proposing or that you think that the president should champion?
Well, so one of the struggles that students have in low-income areas, like the IE, is that it is very difficult for them to afford to be able to travel to Merced or some other location. And so if there were a way to be able to incentivize the campuses to attend to their local communities, especially campuses like Riverside and Merced and others that are serving low-income areas, that they could incentivize or give additional ranking to the students there when they're applying, so that those students could then come in, be transformed by the university, and then stay in their local communities and transform it. So it would be a matter of leading in the space of how students are accepted, and consider geography as an important feature. Raise that factor up.
if that's the choice of the, if the
If that's the
student
choice of the student.
would have to express that that is a priority for them to be
Yes.
close to home.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
So that sounds, generally speaking, sort of like a local preference in essence, which I get for what you're saying. There's obviously vast parts of the state that don't have a UC anywhere
Yes.
near them. So I want to make sure I understand the dynamics as to how that impacts underrepresented students from throughout the state.
Well,
Because UC Riverside is also one of the campuses that I think is doing better than many of the other UCs
Yes,
in
they
terms
are.
of diversity.
Yes, they are. I acknowledge that this idea of providing some local preference to a region like the IE comes with it challenges. The bigger challenge is there's insufficient space in the system for students to come in, but there is this other issue too that needs to be attended to, and that is those students being able to go back into their local communities.
Look, I find this both intriguing and troubling at the same time.
Yes, I do too.
Because here's what I don't want to have happen is try to solve for an IE problem that then creates pressure around each of our other campuses to have local preferences. And when you look at campuses in La Jolla, Irvine, Westwood, San Francisco, Berkeley, if we extended the model to those other areas, I think it would set us back further. Now, what I do think is intriguing is to look at whether we have an undermatched problem for UC eligible students from areas that historically have been underserved. So if we look at the Inland Empire and say, are we having an undermatched problem, and whether this is one of several solutions that we should have to address the undermatched problem. The second, and I think you're right in looking at this proximity question, because the proximity issue is a huge issue. The data that I've looked at suggests that for poorer students and for first-generation students, proximity to home and perceived cost are huge factors in choice. And so my concern is making sure that we address the perception of cost as well. So we have a more aggressive financial aid program than do CSUs, and based on constraints from the state, then do community colleges. So I want to make sure that especially for first-gen students, there's an understanding of the net cost of education so that we don't lose and undermatch based on sticker shock. And I'd like to hear whether or not these issues resonate with you.
Yeah, so, when I was just recently flew in from Phoenix to Ontario, I met a whole bunch of students getting off the plane with Grand Canyon University shirts, right? And I'm cognizant of the resources that UCR can provide their students. These students were highly qualified students. The Grand Canyon University has a great sales team, and they will convince students that the UCs are unreachable and the CSUs are reachable, but because of the packages they get from Grand Canyon, that they're going to get a better deal there. And it's like, okay, students, come talk to me. Let's look at the data. There's places we can go. The second issue around the proximity issue, I think you need to be bold. I think you need to be bold and say there will be certain areas where this proximity issue will not be a factor. And that's going to be the challenge, the political challenge that all of you or the next president would need to take on. I would say that a proximity factor for UCSD doesn't matter, right? There should be the UC president should be championing economic mobility. I know so many folks of my generation. We're as old as the master plan, by the way. Master plan was signed on my birthday. There are so many folks of my generation who today could not make it into the UC, right? And they are providing transformative service and leading huge businesses throughout this entire space. And we need to be able to create more spaces for students of high need to be able to transform their families, their communities, for California to move into the next space. 60% of the students in California are going to be from this underrepresented group. We need to be begin building that system now.
I just will reemphasize that what I was really interested in is increasing the financial aid, because I think that proximity is an important factor, but mostly it's tied to economics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, proximity to so I had the opportunity to speak to a whole group of students this summer, and proximity was an issue for them too. A lot of them is in those regions, in the regions like the IE, they're very concerned about their struggling families, and having the students be able to leave high school and be able to get a $16 an hour job. They see how they could support their mama, their familia, and so they're making that choice now. They can't think about making that investment of education, and so I think cost is a big issue. I mean, come on, should be free for everybody if they're qualified, right? That's the way it should be. CSU too, and let's hope the next UC president can do that. Yeah, thank you.
All right, next we have the Linked Learning Alliance. Feel free to proceed whenever you're ready. They're not on, so.
Has to be red.
Yep. Yes.
Middle button.
The one with the face with the.
Hang on, help's coming.
That's a face.
Thank you.
I think that's what it says.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Linked Learning Field, which is a coalition of educators, industry partners, community leaders, parents, and students. I'm here today because of a promise that everyone engaged in linked learning has made to our students. And that promise is to ensure that all students graduate high school prepared for success in both college and career. When we combine college and career preparation, we put every student in the position to successfully pursue the full range of post-secondary options. And we call that the power of plus. Linked learning is a standard of excellence for integration of college and career-ready pathways. It helps entire communities benefit through this power of plus. And with it, we've seen students over the past decade make extraordinary progress, landing with firm footing on an upward trajectory as they enroll in post-secondary. So even as we sit here today, there are 250,000 students in linked learning college and career pathways primed for post-secondary achievement and success. But we're not done, because you see, if we motivate students to think bigger about the future, then we need to deliver on the promise of access and opportunity. And as you kick off this search for the 21st UC president, we're really urging you to look for a bold and transformative leader that meets many of the qualities other people have already spoke to, but for us, really understands the intersections between K-12 and post-secondary, and the amplifying effect of looking at college and career readiness at the same time, and one who realizes that there's way more to be gained than lost through planned and purposeful partnerships. Intentional partnerships that work across segments of education, but also fuel connections between traditional academic subjects and careers, so more young people understand the importance of a college degree and how college can ignite their passions and turn their aspirations into rewarding careers. And with that, I'm going to turn to William Lopez, who's an alumni of a Linked Learning Pathway in Los Angeles and a freshman at UCLA.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me here today. My name is William Lopez, and like Anne said, I'm a freshman here at UCLA. I wasn't always sure that I'd end up here, but I do know that the experience I had in high school definitely helped me to get to where I am today. The future president of the UC system should understand what's working for students like myself in high school, what helped me get into college, and how some continuation of this experience could help students like me not only enroll in college, but graduate with a degree that leads to a life-changing career. I came to the U.S. 4 years ago from El Salvador. I didn't know many people and I didn't speak English. I attended Los Angeles High School of the Arts, where I spent 2 years in an English language program. I then enrolled in a design link learning pathway. I didn't realize it at the time, but being part of a link learning made a huge impact in my life and my future. I'll be honest, at first, I wasn't all that excited about this design pathway. I wasn't sure if I had any interest in visual design, but I ended up loving it. I saw my communication and collaboration skills improving with every class, presentation, and work-based learning experience. It also made me so much more open to new experiences, which has been very important in college so far. My teachers worked together to make sure my coursework and my core academic classes related to the visual design project that I was doing in my pathway. So I could show not only what I knew, but also what I could do. I analyzed Shakespeare's script of Macbeth in order for me to understand and write my essay in my English class. Everything I did motivated me to work hard and aim higher. Because of my high school experience, I'm the first person in my family to attend college and will hopefully be the first to graduate. As I think back to high school and how I got here, I remember my teachers, my counselors, my support system. They introduced us to scholarships and helped with our college applications during school, after school, and whenever we needed anything. And they made sure I was earning college credits whenever possible, which has given me a head start here. Most importantly, it showed me what I was capable of. I'll be honest, I wasn't always sure that I had what it took to be a college student. But that all changed with my senior defense when I had to demonstrate my learning over the last 4 years. I was able to see for myself what I was capable of. That was when I knew that I was ready for college and could live up to UCLA. But let's be real, college is a huge transition, regardless of how prepared or supported you feel. My high school experience gave me the agency to seek out resources and support when I got to UCLA, but it would be great if that kind of support was initiated by the UC for kids that might not have had this experience. So, what are the top qualities for the next UC president? The next president of the UC system should look deeper at the stories of prospective students. Behind an SAT score, there is someone who is working hard despite personal struggles. Students like me who are motivated and capable of so much. But the incoming UC leadership needs to recognize that students need support to not only get by in college, but also take advantage of the incredible opportunity in front of us, an opportunity that I'm grateful for every single day. Thank you for your time and for giving me the chance to share my story and perspective. I'll now hand things back over to Anne.
Thank you. I think William's story tells and emphasizes all the points we would make as young people make that transition into post-secondary. So.
Thank you. Any questions, William?
Thank you for your comments and for coming today. I think of all the other speakers we've had here and other forums, your ask is a relatively simple one, from at least from my perspective, because you're asking that we look for a candidate who is interested in making sure that its students that it accepts are ready and prepared to be able to succeed in college. And I think, if it's not on the top of the list, it certainly will be, one of the obviously top criteria. And I think what would be really helpful as part of the ask would be is for us to be informed of organizations like you who obviously are helping with that endeavor, because I think that all is important to all of us. Because the last thing I think we, and certainly the next president, the last thing that they want is to accept people who are not prepared to succeed in our universities. So I just want to thank you for bringing that to our attention, and certainly having William here is a great testament to all of that. And at least from my perspective, the ask is easy, and so it's about me sort of educating the next folks about organizations like yours to help us.
Thank you. Anyone else from the panel? Sure.
I really appreciate you being on this panel, because oftentimes people think about linked learning in relationship to community colleges, and they don't often think about it in relationship to UC students. That the importance of relevance of higher education is not some rarefied thing with a liberal arts education, but actually can be related to real world experience. And I just want to underscore that's what we mean by linked learning. The experience in the workplace while you're a student in high school, which gives you a sense of responsibility. It helps you understand the relevance of the work that you're doing, what you're studying, to your future success. And I think sometimes we at UC are perceived as an elite and perceive ourselves as a very elite and rarefied segment of the higher education spectrum, and don't see the relevancy of linked learning programs. So I think this is, and Monica, thank you for organizing them to come and speak today. I guess I want to ask you a question, William, about, you talked about all the wraparound services essentially that you received in your linked learning program, and you just barely touched on the visual arts piece. Can you give us an example of an experience that you had in your program that kind of opened up your eyes to possibility of UC, that it actually made that clear to you?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
So what experience did you had in your visual arts program? Because that was your linked learning program, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what about that and the experience you had in actually doing work in that field might have opened your eyes to the possibility of attending a UC? Do you see my connection?
There might not be especially like directed to UC, but definitely. So what they did, like, they introduced me to college. Like when I came from El Salvador, I didn't know what college was. I didn't like this. Okay. The whole school system is very different. So I was able to take college credits there, and they introduced me. Like what I did, like they motivated me to to apply to college, and the UCs, like they make a real like a big deal about the UCs, and
okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would just add, and William, you can speak to, I think is and we would commend this to the way we think about admissions as well, is not only recognizing what young people know, but what they're able to do.
Yes.
And that is a large piece of, as William referred to, his senior defense in high school, which is that young people have got to reflect on their 4 years of learning and what they know, but also what they've learned how to do as a result of that in whatever pathway they're in. And that is a critical, I think, navigation skill when you move into post-secondary and you have the confidence to have had to defend your learning and also demonstrate what you have gotten out of it, right, in terms of your skill set.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon. Please allow me to skip over the introductions because I know time is of essence for everyone. My name is Dr. Darlene V. Willis, and I am honored to provide this testimony on behalf of my nonprofit, Concerned Parent Alliance College Bound Programs, as well as 25 plus community-based organizations throughout San Diego County. Due to time constraints and respect of time, and I have a 3:25 flight that I must catch from LAX, I will be reading quite fast. But no need to worry because I have provided you with a full document with all of our information and descriptions. So first we actually took on all 3 questions. The first one, one important priority for the next president will be his or her task to help restore public trust and confidence in higher education institutions. The new UC leader must take necessary steps to reassure both stakeholders and the public that the university is committed to making a California dream a reality for all students, especially those who have the opportunity to pursue educational and personal goals. Additional factors that we'd like you to consider for the new leader is one that must be ready to take on federal deregulation measures set forth by the U.S. Department of Education. Of course, these changes, as you know, will require a degree of readiness for timely leadership intervention and innovation to avoid any form of disruption in the system. commitment to building ongoing strategic partnerships, both within and outside the university community. We applaud the support that our CBO group has received from the Office of the President and our host institution, UC San Diego. We strongly recommend that such a model, apart from UCSD, be applied at other campuses throughout the system. In the absence of a statewide coordinating board for higher education, the newly appointed president should consider taking the lead to promote greater intersegmental collaboration and coordination among the state's higher education systems. This approach would enable the three systems to address non-academic student-centric issues from a statewide perspective, and you heard people talking about that. The skills and experience, a scholar, visionary with strong leadership and management skills, demonstrated fundraising knowledge, skills and influence with corporations, foundations, alums, etc. The ability to communicate with different constituent groups to further the mission and goals of the university, and most importantly, in our view, recognition of and a strong commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and its intrinsic value in the higher education environment. Last but certainly not least, the top issues we believe are the rising costs for tuition and fees. I won't go into that, but I will, because my colleagues already talked on it, but I will point out that we were sort of distressed or concerned to learn that many of the UCs currently are now offering less merit-based scholarships, and that sends a different message. The issue of the student loan debt crisis, we all know that California alone, the residents are $131.2 billion in student loan debt. This new president must learn and talk about new strategies and approaches. Recruitment of students of color should always remain the top priority for the university. We recommend that a question be posed to potential candidates about what goals and strategies they would employ to continue pursuit of this critical matter. Last but certainly not least, continued use of standardized and college rep testing certainly should be looked into, as you're doing, used as a tool that identify highly talented students for admission. We fully support and go along with the other 1,100 institutions that have chosen for the test out option, and we strongly encourage the university to move forward with the new president in making this admission policy change. In conclusion, community-based organizations such as ours and others working in partnership with the UC have an important role to play in encouraging and mentoring eligible scholars of color to pursue a quality higher educational experience at UC schools. Your acknowledgement and support of the work that we do collectively in communities where we live and work is sincerely appreciated. So on behalf of the UC San Diego community-based organizations, I thank you, and I want to remind you, you do have a full response, but I thank you for giving this proud Anteater alum a commentary and observation opportunity to this body as you conduct your hard work and commitment to the search for our next president of the University of California system. Thank you. I think I got 30 seconds to answer you, and I'm sorry, I've got to get out. But my contact information is in our formal document with more details.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and
Thank
hope you
you
make your
very
flight.
much.
Hello, good afternoon. I first want to start off by thanking you for inviting me and thank you all at the Regents and the College Futures Foundation for inviting a K-12 practitioner to this forum and to this conversation. Too often we're left from the table, not invited, and so I'm extremely honored and excited to be here. I represent Riverside County Office of Education under leadership of Superintendent Dr. Judy White, and I'm also here as a commissioner for the California Student Aid Commission. So I'm excited to share. As a practitioner, I'm definitely going to share my thoughts, but also give vivid examples of things and ideas and hope for the next UC president. When I think of the next UC president, I think of a relentless collaborator and a selfless leader. and a relentless collaborator. As I work with the California Student Aid Commission, we are having serious conversations around the total cost of attendance for our students. As we heard earlier today, our students should not have to pick the time of day they're going to swipe their meal plan if they're hungry, right? Let me eat at 3 o'clock because that's when I get the hungriest. That should not be happening. And we worked as a commission looking at, way of Cal Grant reform. But when I say a relentless collaborator, I think there's other ways our future president can look to for feeding our students at the UC campuses. For example, the CalFresh program. Our UC president can work with this CalFresh program with so many of our students because of the steps and the layers to be eligible for this qualification. It doesn't happen. So if as a K-12 practitioner, I get to work with over 420,000 students in Riverside County, 31,000 seniors. Even if I put a systemic process in place that each one of my students before they graduate applies for CalFresh, if they come to UCLA, they have to do the application over again because it's Los Angeles County. Those are charges I feel the next president could take, and not just think beyond the higher ed financial budget here, but what else is out there? What other connections, what other collaborations can we do on behalf of our students? The Student Aid Commission, with the support of College Futures Foundation, did a SEER study, the Students Expense and Research Survey. 35% of our students are facing, that were surveyed, low or very low food security, and 35% of them are facing housing insecurity. There's other ways to collaborate besides just, okay, we need more funding. And that's what I think is our new president looking at what other ways could we streamline the process for my students, especially the students I serve, more than 65% of them live in poverty, do not have to keep saying, I am poor, I am hungry. When I say a selfless leader, I say a selfless leader that sometimes some of the most amazing opportunities for K-12 students have been born out of the UC system, out of the UC. I have to give definitely a shout out to your high school articulation unit and the amazing work that they've done. One you just lost, she retired, Nina Costales, has been an amazing partner for us. But sometimes not everything has to come from the UC system. So right now, California Colleges is the official college and career planning platform for the state, for California community colleges, and for the California State University. So what that means is because of the partnership with those two institutions, I have 12 school districts that are on California colleges. And I could run on November 15th data that shows how many of my foster youth that were eligible to CSU applied and submitted the application. I could run how many African American males in those school districts haven't submitted their CSU. I can't do that for a UC because UC is not a partner on California colleges with data sharing and application articulation. So when I say selfless leader, these are platforms that were developed by our higher ed partners and coming together to do that for the sake of our students and really maximizing our state resources. There's times I would ask Nina Costales, I'll leave one example. I'd say, Nina, I really need help with teaching helping our teachers rewrite their curriculum to get USC courses approved. And there was never funding. Over the 5 years I worked with her, only one time was there funding to bring her team to come to actually do professional development with teachers that are rewriting curriculum. We could work smarter together with our resources. Instead, we have other opportunities that UC is creating for transcript evaluations, but yet here we have a platform like California Colleges that we could be networking that is funded also by the state. So I'll leave with you those two, a relentless collaborator and a selfless leader. And I think those possibilities, and on behalf in our county, I definitely would also like to say thank you to UC Riverside, to Chancellor Wilcox, to Emily Ingleshaw, the director of admissions. We've had amazing partnerships with the UC Riverside, and some of those barriers we're finding that Dr. Ayala mentioned earlier, we're going after them together. So at this time, if you have any questions.
Good, thank you, John.
I want to thank you for both the broad advice you gave us, but for the very specific examples you gave us on ways to make this real. You gave us some very good things to look at broadly, but I've taken some notes in terms of actionable items that we could take advantage of as well. So I want to thank you for addressing both.
Thank you.
Hi, Catalina. I just wanted to also say, thanks for your service to the county, but thank you for your service to the state. In terms of your role on CSAC, I think that's really invaluable. I I think the way you've put it, relentless collaborator and selfless leader, are really important for us to keep in mind. I think those are great, great phrases, great descriptors for what we should be looking for. And I want to also make sure that we do follow up on your very specific suggestions as well. And so I don't know how closely Chair Perez's notes will be, but we'd love to see certain things in writing from you if we can, so we have something that we can actually act upon and keep ourselves accountable, especially when we get very specific suggestions. And thank you also for saying it's not just about we need more money, that there are so many resources at different institutions and different partners to solve our collective problems. So really appreciate your coming, and thank you, Monica, again for arranging the speakers here.
This poor new president already has a to-do list. I have it here. Thank you. Any other questions?
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Campaign for College Opportunity.
Good afternoon. Regent Garrett Elliott, thank you for having us. Chair Perez, thank you for opening this forum, and to the College Futures Foundation and the rest of the regents on this committee. Thank you for doing the most important work. Your most important job is selecting this next president, and probably after listening to all of us wondering how you're going to find that perfect unicorn that we're all seeking. I come to you as the first in my family to have gone to college. I grew up near here in Los Angeles. I'm a first-gen student. I'm also a very proud Bruin, and if I had more time, I would show you the 8 clap. Important skill before you leave this campus today. And I'm actually the parent of a UC San Diego sophomore. So very much not only through my work at the Campaign for College Opportunity, but personally, a proud alum, understand the value of the University of California to the state, to the nation, to the world. And clearly, California is the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world because of our investment in higher education, and in particular, the commitment to an unrivaled building of a university system that is first class across the world. What I want to urge you today is that I know you're hearing from a lot of interested stakeholders that want you to pick a candidate that is good on their issues. I want to remind you that the university is here for students and is called the University of California for a reason. And I want you to keep that front and center. The University of California has been incredible in my own personal experience and that of my family. It is incredibly diverse, serving low-income students and students of every race and color, and it is not enough. So the diversity of the students don't match the diversity of faculty, of academic senate bodies, of leaders in this institution. You've heard from my previous colleague, and I know you have our official letter around what we are urging you to look at as you select a candidate, so I won't go further into that, but you've known that we've done an analysis of the lack of inclusivity in higher education. We hope as you select a candidate that candidate will not only care about the importance and contribution of students of color, but actively work to close gaps that continue to persist in higher education and at this institution, especially for Black and Latinx students. We are at a campus that I am very proud of, except for the fact that only 3% of its student body is Black, in a state that has a 7% Black population, in a city that has a 10% Black population. That should be unacceptable. You should do something about that. It is harder than ever to get into the University of California, and I think we need a UC president and regent body that cares about expanding access and doesn't use the excuse of protecting quality to avoid doing so. We need a UC president that will take us to the next level in terms of continuing to exercise the national leadership, worldwide leadership of this position that will collaborate with K-12 and not operate in a silo of decision-making that doesn't include or review the impact of what admission changes might mean for the K-12 system, what they might mean for equity in our schools. We need an effective collaborator that will work with the CSU and community colleges that will care and prioritize transfer. As you saw today, the many students sitting here who are transfer students, and what an important path that is. And you need an effective leader that can work closely with the governor and the legislature and understand the important role that that relationship building is in order to bring additional resources and assets to the university. And I would just end by saying we need a leader that has the courage to fight nationally for DACA and undocumented students, as you have done. Thank you for your leadership on that. We need a leader that is courageous to take on the reality that SAT, ACT has never been an adequate measure of anybody's intelligence or ability, and we should have long ago eliminated that as a measure for admissions to the University of California. I'll stop there and answer any questions that you have.
I'm going to say a bunch of things and then just ask you, don't you agree? So I want to thank you for reinforcing this question of diversity at every level. But I want to challenge one of the problem sets you gave. I agree with you that the fact that UCLA is only 3% African American is an unconscionable problem that we have to deal with. The problem I have is too often when we have these discussions, we celebrate how much we've grown the Latino student population without realizing that the gap between student age population and UC population has grown over the last 30 years. So 30 years ago, there was a 12% gap between Latino college-age students and UC students. It's now 17%. So we've gone from a 12% gap to a 17% gap. Not just a problem at the UC system, the gap has grown nationally. The gap has grown nationally at highly competitive universities. So I just want to make sure that we all hold ourselves not just to growth, but growth that aligns with population growth, and not just celebrate that which happens because of huge demographic shifts. Don't you agree?
I absolutely agree. And as a friend said, you know, when you take credit for an increase in Latinx population in our colleges and universities, it's like the rooster taking credit for the sunrise.
Or for the egg that he had nothing to do with.
Exactly.
But the other challenge is when you look at leadership. So in very simple terms, I'll look at the senior management group, which are chancellors and vice chancellors, president and vice president. That's one. The academic senate on our campus is 2. The regents 3. I'm shocked that we're at a point where the regents are the most diverse unit out of any of those 3. And so I really want to thank you for reminding us of the challenges at those other leadership levels. And quite frankly, the most impactful is the faculty, because they end up impacting each of those other segments. I want to thank you for creating ongoing discussion about the standards we should be holding ourselves to in these questions.
Thank you. Any other members of the panel? Questions? Great. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Got it. All right. All right. I always joke with kids that when I went to college, the internet wasn't there. So, always like to joke around. But okay, so my name is Frank Ramirez. I work for a nonprofit in the Central Valley, which is the section of California north of Sacramento, south of Sacramento, north of Los Angeles. And hopefully, and you will keep us in mind as you are looking for a new president for the University of California. So good afternoon, esteemed members of the University of California Presidential Search Committee. I come from the Central Valley because we have unique obstacles that our students are facing, and so I'd like to bring them to your attention. Also, I'd like to highlight what great leadership President Napolitano has done, and maybe highlight a few of those characteristics to bring into what you're going to look for the new president, but also what needs to also be considered. So first, I'd like to note that we need a leader similar to Napolitano in the sense that she fought with our state legislators, state leadership to try to get more funding, and that funding has helped improve access and kept students on track to graduate in a timely manner. She also stepped up to help on some of our most vulnerable students, the Dreamers, students who have worked hard and met all admission requirements but face issues with their residency. She has brought to make UC campuses more welcoming by establishing dream centers, establishing competitive financial aid packages to help these students access a UC education. So I applaud her for that. Next, we focus on the items that we do want to make sure that the president brings in, and I'd like to focus on access and equity. Students from the Central Valley don't have the same access to college preparation programs and professionals to guide them in becoming a competitive candidate for admissions to the UC system. We don't have as much access to these services as the kids in large metropolitan areas. This is where equity comes into the conversation. Are kids from the Central Valley having an equal chance for admissions into the competitive UC system if they don't have access to the same amount of services? The next president should consider revisiting programs that are originally designed to help with access, but have lost the strength over the years as they evolved. One example would be programs like the ELC program, Eligible by Local Context, where the top percentage of students at each high school were guaranteed admission to a majority of the UC campuses. When I worked in the UC Office of Admissions for UC Merced, I believe at that point it was 7 of the campuses would guarantee them admissions as long as they applied to that campus. Now it's evolved to just a priority or more competitive marks. The TAG program, the Transfer Admissions Guarantee, it helped transfer students to guarantee them admissions to to many of the UC campuses at one point. But now it's only again, another on competitive point, some services. It's still a good program, but that guarantee is what's big. Okay. These programs have evolved to help students, but the guarantee is big, especially for first-generation college students who, as it is, this is a new environment for them of trying to matriculate through the process of getting their degree. So making it as more user-friendly as possible by giving them that degree or that guarantee is very welcoming. The CSU system has made this commitment through the AAT, which is the Associate's Degree and Transfer Program. So I hope the UCs could also put something like that together. Next, financial aid is another obstacle many Central Valley students face in accessing a UC education. I would like to see the next president place the development of more institutional-based financial aid programs that will help with the access issues, as many Central Valley students choose not to accept their offer of admissions due to financial obstacles. The financial aid model, the UC's Institute places an average of a $10,000 in self-help portion of their financial aid package. That means the kids, aside from their gift aid that they're getting, have to figure out through scholarships, loans, work, combination of those, how to raise that $10,000. You get a farm working family that is only making $25,000 a year to place that before them, that their kid will have to raise $10,000 for each year that they're at the UC campus. It's mind-boggling to them. And it goes into what you were mentioning earlier about just trying to understand more of those concepts. So this is after federal state institutional gift aid has been exhausted. The self-help portion requires them to access these programs, increasing the amount of institutional gift aid and reducing self-help portion of a financial aid package will help students be a little bit more enticed to go to the UC campus. So overall, the obstacles of that first generation college students, dreamers, and students from the Central Valley face are what brought me here today, and I welcome any questions at this point.
Look, I'm really concerned about the same question, and we've looked at whether or not you could have a more progressive pitch on financial aid and what that would cost based on the share of students that we have with need. As I've looked at it, I haven't found a system that has a more aggressive financial aid package than do we, and I would ask if you could help us find somebody who has a more aggressive model, because as we looked at it, both CSU and clearly community colleges, because of the constraints of the Cal Grant system, there's even a greater self-help net amount, as is the case in most privates. So is there another model out there that we should be looking at? Because absent more money, we don't have the ability to impact, which is why we're looking at some ideas of generating some more revenues that could go in to that financial aid pool. But have you seen a model that we should be looking to as an example?
Well, when I worked for UC Merced, I did travel to different states, working with different school districts and systems of higher ed in those states. And there isn't, but California is a trendsetter, so we should be setting that model and showing other states how it could be done to set the trend for how first generation economically disadvantaged students can have access to research-based high level education. But honestly, the only way is going to be to try to raise more institutional funding. I know that the UCs have their chancellor grants, the different programs for that are merit-based, but there's not enough. So, I know one of the speakers had mentioned of expanding merit-based programs. So maybe that could be the first step of having that president go to these corporations, aggressively raise money that could be funneled into more scholarships and grants for students.
And I guess the other issue, we heard somebody talk about challenges in the IE. You're talking about challenges in the Central Valley.
Yes.
I would assume you would also encourage us to look at other areas that are significantly underserved. So for example, you talked about the Valley being below Sacramento and above LA. If you get above Sacramento and you get into but Shasta County and Modoc County, and you get into Tehama County, similar patterns. So I would assume you'd encourage us to have similar approaches in those areas that have historically had few partnerships with UC and have historically been underserved.
Oh yes, I encourage you to help all regions. But today I'm representing the Central Valley, where I've worked for over 15 years in helping kids go to college, establish this nonprofit that I now am the executive director for. And so, the issues are faced up and down the state. I was able to see them working for UC Merced. When we established the campus, I was part of the first admissions team. And so we were going up and down the state, visiting all these school districts. We're in the IE, we're on Humboldt County, all those counties up that way. And I do agree with you. They do all have similar issues of access.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the panel? Great, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I thought that would take me at least 5 minutes. Thank you so much for listening to all of us today and actually listening. It's honestly not what I was expecting, so thank you. My name is Rachel Bonkowski, and I'm here with my colleague Carlos Silberger, and we represent the Partnership for LA Schools. We're a nonprofit that works with 18 schools, K through 12, in Watts, Boyle Heights, and South Central. And one of our primary areas of focus, K through 12, is around college completion and encouraging all of our students to pursue a 4-year college degree. And I'm going to echo many of the comments of those who have spoken before us. I think at its best, you all would find the next president of the UC system to be someone who's a social justice visionary, who can also ignite the corridors of power in California. We're at a point in K-16 education in California where there's money in the budget, both federally and at a state level. Maybe it doesn't feel that way to you, but that's the rumor. And we need to, I think, re-energize that dream of education in California. So in 1960, this was referenced earlier, the Higher Ed Master Plan came out, and it talked about the top 1/8 of every high school graduating class having access to the UC system. That is down to 9% at best. And in other places, if students don't want to go to UC Merced, it's a lower percentage. UCLA's entering GPA is higher than that of both Stanford and Harvard, which is cool, I guess, right? We've created an elite institution, but it leaves out kids who are prepared, who we're pushing to have college dreams, and the seats aren't here for it. I'm going to tell you things you already know, but since 1980, we've built 23 prisons in this state, and we've opened the doors of 1 UC, which, that's not cool, right? So the good news about UCs is that you do an excellent job of graduating students who are first in their family to go to college, who are students of color, who are students from under-resourced neighborhoods, and we should be getting more of our kids to you. That's part of what we're doing at the K-12 level, saying go to 4-year, go to UC. Here's a list of places that will get you graduated. But if the seats aren't there, we can't get them to you. So I'm going to hand it over to Carlo.
Oh, great. Thank you very much for having us today. Part of our mission, as Rachel was saying, is to increase the percentage of our high school graduates who actually get a bachelor's degree within 6 years. And I think that's something we share and are working together on. And so we're looking to create a more closely aligned K-16 pipeline. And there's a couple things in particular that we would love to work with you on and with the new president on. Leadership in the following 3 areas. The first one is more programs on campus to encourage students as early as kindergarten to visit UC campuses and participate in age-appropriate experiences, especially for first-generation students from underrepresented minority students. It's so important to have high school students here through the admissions offices to take tours and whatnot, but if that's the first time that they're stepping foot onto UC campus, then that's truly unfortunate and a little bit too late. And that's a very hard prospect from the K-6. We have a hard time doing that right now, and so we need that partnership to be there. Second thing is an expansion of the EAOP program and other college access programs that focus on preparing students for college success earlier. UCLA has been a leader in using their EAOP office to target middle schools, which is fantastic and very much needed. But it's a very, very small number of middle schools, and my understanding is it's only at UCLA, and so if that could be expanded, more programs for that K through 8, K through 10, I think that would be very important. And lastly, and others have mentioned this earlier, more regular conversations across the K-12 higher ed divide so that we can better understand each other's work and try to address the isolation that unfortunately keeps coming closer and closer to us. And we're both here to answer questions if you have any. Thanks for having us.
Weren't you supposed to tell us you were founded by a UCLA alum?
Maybe we were.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Okay. You were. Second, I really liked your idea about getting folks onto campus earlier. Here's my question. Are you, and if you aren't, would you consider engaging especially parents in K-6 in conversations around financial aid? And the reason is it seems like forever away, but one of the challenges I keep saying is students already in high school where there's a perception of cost-prohibitive education, and starting that conversation earlier seems to fundamentally shift sense of possibility. So are you doing any work in the partnership schools to talk about access to financial aid and the affordability of college, relative speaking, to normalize that?
Yes, absolutely, and there's much more to do. I'll mention one thing, which is that in a few weeks, we're actually going to have over 1,000 of our families and students here on this campus for our annual University Day, where we bus students to a college campus and have workshops on things like that in order to ensure that students as early as kindergarten and their families know what's available and see college as part of their future. But there's no question that more can be done. I've had conversations where seventh graders will come up to me and say, if my parents can't afford to buy me new shoes, how are they going to pay for college? And so when that happens, and then we talk about college, but they don't see that as part of their future for them and for the people at their school, then obviously they're not going to be preparing for that.
I mean, the reason I raise this is, look, I grew up in poverty. 90% of the kids in my high school were below the poverty line. I was lucky that I had a counselor who early on pulled out a sample FAFSA and said the only line that matters is this one, expected family contribution, and the good news is you're poor. The good news is you're poor, so it doesn't matter if you want to go to community college, CSU, UC, or private, your EFC is the same. And that fundamentally shifted sense of possibility by flipping the switch and saying the good news is you're poor, and here's the affordability quotient. So thank you.
We'd like you as a speaker in 3 weeks.
Thank you for your comment. So I'm going to change it up a little bit because I think a lot of the items you mentioned on here are good programmatic items that I think a lot of people here support and would like to see done. So I'm going to maybe challenge you to help, since you've seen people that might support the visions that you all have. Is pretty soon we're going to start seeing a bunch of resumes and CVs that have all kinds of criteria, presidents, businesses, whatever it may be. Is what should we be looking for as code or direct that addresses some of the issues that you're thinking about? I mean, I have some thoughts that I can come up with, but if you have some kind of practical items that you want us to look for as we go through the resumes and the CVs, I for one, would like to know what I'm looking for or what you all want me to be looking for.
I guess off the bat, I have two thoughts. One, and they're pretty different. I think one is around somebody who is willing to tackle systems that we see that aren't just and has some track record of doing that. Not that I think the work of UCs is impressive, and we need more. And we need someone who can help make that more happen. The other thing, I'll just amplify what one of the other folks talked about, Ms. Cifuentes, just about sort of relentless collaboration. That really rung true, because nobody knows everything, right? So you're going to have someone coming into this immense system in this immense state who will have certain areas of expertise, but the only way to gain more expertise is to collaborate relentlessly and to really listen.
I mean, I would just add one quick thing, which is that, anyone applying for this job would be stupid not to mention that they want to do more collaborative work with other higher institutes of higher education and also with the K-12 system. But people who have experience in that and have actually done that in previous work, it's so tough. It's such a massive institution and there's so many K-12 systems. But if they have experience doing that, to me, that would be a huge factor as well.
I thank you for being here. I don't like following Regent on because he stole one of my thoughts, so I'll give you the other thought. You're one of the few sets of speakers who has addressed us about once the students are in college, how do we get them out? Mm-hmm. How do we get them to degree, which is the mission. Yeah. We've talked a lot about admitting underrepresented students, but they do need support while they're there. So I was going to ask you what you would look for in a president who is able to accomplish that part of the mission. So thank you for your responses, and thank you for raising an issue that I don't think was spoken about a lot today.
Sure. You want to talk about this?
Sure. Okay, so we have spent time in our organization with national partners looking at colleges and universities across the country that are graduating students of color, low-income students, at higher rates, and we've created a best fit list. Some of that's propelled by the national research around 4-year versus 2-year grad rates again, for students of color coming from lower income areas. And so from our end, we're just giving this list to our counselors and our students and saying, please at least look at this before you make a decision about where you're going to go next year. Anecdotally, and Carlo can talk a lot more about this, but we've also heard from students that the single most important thing their first year on campus is just the advising and support that they're getting, and that that a lot of them have had to learn to go to find that, and while that's a great and important life lesson, it's really different for a middle class white young woman of 18 to go and look for resources than for an African American young woman coming out of poverty to go and find resources. So being aggressive about pairing up students who we can predict are going to have that need with the advising resources from the get-go.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next, we have the PLU Education Foundation.
All right. So first and foremost, unfortunately, my partner, Ms. Dina Walkers, wasn't able to make it today, but I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I'm just going to get right into this. So first and foremost, we all agree the title of a president within any entity is one that comes with great responsibilities. Of these responsibilities, one that's very important is the need to uphold the image of the title as well as be involved and active in meeting the needs of those within the entity. In the UC Regents search for the next president, I ask that this president be one who's intentional and purposeful in trying to understand the needs of this entity, and the most important part of the entity that is the UC is its students. Me personally, from attending a UC for 4 years and being well aware of the needs and struggles of students firsthand, one thing that students often struggle with, especially students of color like myself, is the feeling of being underrepresented or not really feeling like faculty who don't often look like you are able to understand your struggle as a person of color. With that being said, an ideal president does not have to be a person of color per se, but should be a person who's well aware and is also well invested in fixing the issues that affect these smaller populations of people of color throughout the numerous UC institutions. Once all students feel as though leadership is invested in them as individuals, they'll become further invested in their institutions. The UC system is one that prides itself in diversity, but it's imperative that diversity and inclusion at UCs becomes a more prioritized factor. And this goes deeper than simple admittance to UC institutions, but it's very important that these students also feel understood and represented. There are many different people with different identities and backgrounds who contribute to the success of UCs. The 21st president needs to be someone who has the best interests of every student group in mind. Once that is done, I feel like students will feel more safe, and I believe more minority students will see universities through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Haley?
Hi there. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm a student also, but also on the Board of Regents. We've had the opportunity to connect with students across a couple different campuses, and I've asked a similar question each time, and I'd love your thoughts. If you could share any of your expectations as a student for how the next UC president will stay engaged and communicate specifically with students, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, for me, so I went to UC Riverside, and I feel like UC Riverside is a lot more diverse and is a little further ahead than other UCs. But from the numerous African American students I know, it feels as though because a lot of them ended up not finishing, and from just what they've told me, they felt as though the system itself isn't really for them, and they feel like their problems aren't really heard. So my biggest thing would be, I feel like there has to be some sort of like open door policy, one that makes students feel comfortable in expressing themselves whenever. I feel like with that, it'll foster a legitimate culture where every student feels welcome, heard, and respected. Thank you.
Next, we have the RP group.
Good afternoon. My name is Darla Cooper. I am the Executive Director of the Research and Planning Group for California Community Colleges, otherwise known as the RP Group. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization committed to providing excellence by using data and evidence to transform the lives of all community college students. I appreciate the opportunity you've given me and others today to provide input in this exciting new chapter for the UC system. I come to you today to share and highlight some new research that we have done at the RP Group that underscores the need for UC leadership that demonstrably values transfer students and is committed to working with the California community colleges to improve those students' transitions to the university. Now, research done by many colleagues throughout the state and even the nation, but has documented there's a clear need for more baccalaureate degree holders in this state. There's broad agreement that increasing community college transfer is an essential strategy for increasing that baccalaureate achievement, while at the same time promoting mobility for residents of a state plagued with the nation's highest cost of living. At the UC's own goals of producing 200,000 more degrees on top of the 1 million undergraduate and graduate degrees the system is already projected to produce, achieving a 90% graduation rate, and closing achievement gaps by 2030 can also be strategically advanced through a strong and effective transfer pipeline. I also want to acknowledge when the question was asked earlier, how many of the students, they're not there anymore, but they were here that raised their hands and said they were transfer students, and these are student leaders. So I didn't pay them. They were here to show the importance of transfer students and making those opportunities. The state's legislature and higher education leadership and advocates are undertaking numerous efforts to improve the transfer pipeline. While this state has made an active commitment to improving transfer in recent years, student outcomes and equity data show that UC, like all of California's higher education segments, can do more. The RP Group's study is called Through the Gate being Transfer Gate, was conducted with support from the College Futures Foundation. And we have documented that in a recent 5-year period, 300,000 students had made significant progress towards transfer, completing all or most of the transfer requirements, but they still have not transferred. They are stuck. And we wanted to find out why, so we surveyed these students. We were able to reach over 800 students across 31 of the 114 at the time community college campuses, and they revealed that they need a more holistic and integrated approach to ensure that they reach their ultimate goal of a bachelor's degree and a better life for themselves and their families. This approach requires attention to 4 essential factors that these students themselves identified, and the UCs have a role to play. Increasing students' financial awareness by working with community colleges to ensure students understand the true cost of going to the university, all the associated expenses, and what kind of assistance is available to help them pay for it. 2, addressing students' school life balance by easing their negotiation of work, family, and school responsibilities through responsive course scheduling, access to regional local campuses and centers, and increased access to childcare. 3, facilitating students' navigation of transfer pathways by partnering with community colleges to provide students with timely, accurate information about the requirements they will have to fulfill both before and after arriving at the UC, and that what the expectations are for university life inside and outside the classroom. And finally, providing students with a support network that connects them with helpful, caring, encouraging individuals as they make the transition through the transfer gate and adjust to the university environment. Clearly, community colleges cannot do this work alone. Intersegmental collaboration and university involvement is critical to create a true 4-year baccalaureate pathway that meaningfully addresses all factors in a comprehensive and coherent way. And this research that we've done has implication at all levels, from campus-based practice all the way up to system-level policy and considerations by and across segments. The UC system has a powerful influence on and a role in the state's higher education context. When the UC speaks, other post-secondary systems listen. When the UC takes action, other post-secondary systems respond. We look forward to seeing the selection of a new leader who lifts up transfer as a key priority for the UC system and who actively invests in efforts to partner closely with the California community colleges to build students' transfer capacity so many more students are able to complete their bachelor's degrees. And I will say, as a proud UCSD graduate, I thank you for your time and attention.
Dr. Cooper, thank you so much for your testimony and for referencing your report. It strikes me that as we hone in on a small pool of candidates, of excellent candidates, that might be some required reading for folks before we go into the next stage. What's a question you would have us ask them to relate to that, your approach to transfer?
I would want to know how they view transfer.
Okay.
Do they view that as part of the mission and a priority for the UC that they intend to lead?
Right.
I want to see, where do they see it fitting in? What is the UC's obligation? What is the UC's responsibility regarding transfer? Because the perception is that it's an afterthought. And if I'd want to know, does this person have that same perception?
Would it be accurate to say that if we had a more integrated and holistic approach to transfer and we were successful in taking those, for example, those 300,000 students and getting them across the finish line, that we would have better outcomes in terms of reflecting the demographic composition of our student population?
Absolutely, simply based on the diversity of the demographics of the students who are currently attending our California community colleges. It looks very different.
So might it be said that that might be the most cost-effective way to achieve greater reflection of diversity and actually reflection of our student population?
I would have to agree. I mean, both for the student and their family, if they do their first 2 years of education at the community college and are able to transfer, and also for the state in terms of what how the state reimburses the 3 different segments.
That's great. So it might be a good thing to put on an evaluation for both the president as well as the chancellors.
Agreed.
Thank you.
It's called leading the witness.
Thanks for being here. Question in your research: have you come across any negative effects of UC's transfer pathway being slightly different than Cal State's?
To answer honestly, I've not done any research that I can say, oh, look at this report. But in doing this research and many other research projects that we've done, I talk to a lot of students. I personally go out and do focus groups because I want to stay in touch with the students and also the faculty and the administrators and the classified professionals. And that's what I hear. And it particularly affects those students who do not have a CSU nearby. I come from Ventura County, and if you are in Santa Barbara, and I used to work at Santa Barbara City College, if you're in the Santa Barbara area and you don't want to move, can't move for whatever reasons, UCSB is your only public choice in the area, because driving to the nearest CSU is either San Luis Obispo, I don't know if you're all familiar with that, or it's Channel Islands, which is still 50 miles one way.
I've always been intrigued with, but maybe I'm wrong, so I'm asking you, wasn't the Santa Barbara Community College particularly designed to feed into the University of California at Santa Barbara? I mean, which is, so many students that I know are encouraged to go there.
Absolutely.
Because they want to go to UCSB. And it's a good transition, and I've always thought it was a wonderful, effective, and cost-effective model for, also if you fall into not being able to get financial aid, your first 2 years, I just recommended this to someone who did it, and they're now a junior there. So, I mean, the question is, should we have more of these particularly designed schools closer to campuses, or have each one of our colleges each one of our UCs choose one of and use them as a feeder in a funny way?
I think again, working there and with those students and with those faculty and administrators, what I saw were students who could not get into UCSB.
But eventually did, didn't they?
No, they can't, for either they don't have the program that they want to pursue or they don't have the GPA to
No,
get
I
into
meant after the 2 years.
Right, I'm talking about after the 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, really? 'Cause
and
I
there's
thought it
only
was
so
so
many
effective.
slots. And Santa Barbara City College attracts students from all over the state,
I see.
international students and out-of-state students, just for the reason you cited, of being the main way into UCSB. But not everyone is going to be able to get in. So they need to have other options.
So I must have just heard about the success stories.
Perhaps.
I think the last point reinforces one of my concerns. So if you've got a student coming to a community college as a way to try to get in because they weren't eligible as freshmen admits, I get that. But having students go to community college that could get into UC, I think, is a different question. And so I'm a huge believer in our commitment to 1/3 of our admissions every year being community college transfers. What I worry about, especially in the universe of sticker shock, is taking an underrepresented first-gen student who's UC eligible and saying, go there for free to community college, as opposed to start off as a freshman and challenging us to do all the wraparound services. And so I just want to make sure I understand your position. If a student is UC eligible and first gen, given that a large proportion of students that enroll with community college with the intent of transferring neither transfer nor get an AA degree within 6 years, wouldn't you encourage us to get every UC eligible freshman admit to come into UC as opposed to going somewhere else first? Right, so look, I'm, again, for transfers who weren't UC eligible, I think the argument is very clear that we ought to embrace them. But how do we balance these questions for a first-gen UC eligible kid for whom we could provide the services?
It's a very difficult question. I see why you're wrestling with it. Did you want to?
I don't want to stop you from answering. I was going to add to whatever your answer is. I was going to respond to your question.
Oh, okay. That is really hard for me to say, just based on knowing certain students and who go to any university, or especially a highly selective university, and end up coming back to the community college because of a variety of reasons. And so to necessarily just kind of say, well, we should absolutely, pull every student. I'm not sure going to the UC out of high school is the best option for every student. You also have to take into account that the California community colleges now have the Promise programs at many of those colleges, and that is very attractive to the students and their families in terms of saving money.
But my question is specifically under-resourced first gen. I haven't seen evidence that says it saves them money. For middle-class families, absolutely. But for under-resourced first-gen students, that's what, look, I worry about where are we going to get the highest rate of success of them getting a 4-year degree in a reasonable time. And I'm not yet sold that for a student who can come into UC as a freshman, that there is a mixed path that is quicker and cheaper. And so I guess I would invite you to think about it and share with us your thoughts over time. Absolutely a commitment for students who get into community college as a pathway for us making that a more seamless pathway. But I want to make sure we have the highest net yield of transforming students' lives. So
what I was responding to was not the student that it was actually responding to what you tried so valiantly to help us with, was middle class. Yeah. And all the students that I know were middle class students that could not get financial aid and could not afford to go for 4 years. And the success stories that I'm talking about, and I have actually, not just for UC Santa Barbara, but for Berkeley, various of my friends whose kids got in and they couldn't afford it, they went to the community colleges for 2 years and they were able to transfer into the college that they wanted to go to, and then they do save money.
Right.
Because they weren't able to. So that's what I was referring to as the middle class.
Great. Thank you. And we are running behind schedule, so if there are no further questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we're going to go on to our next speaker, which is Dr. Sujin Jez.
Thank you, Search Committee, College Futures Foundation, for having this forum. Good afternoon. I am Sujin Jez, and I'm the Executive Director of California Competes. As an organization focused on the role of higher ed in supporting our state's economy and workforce, California Competes believes new leadership should focus on increasing enrollment and degree attainment rates for California's most underserved students. While California's economy is rapidly adding new high-paying jobs, millions of Californians fail to qualify for these opportunities because they lack the required post-secondary credential. I speak to you today as a researcher who assesses the indicators for student success regularly. But more than that, I went through UC Berkeley as a first-generation student, a woman of color, a daughter of an immigrant, and a STEM major. I know too well what it's like to face systemic barriers while attempting to earn a degree. And today's students have it even harder. They're up against extreme income and wealth disparities, under-resourced public institutions, and a growing basic needs crisis. The next UC president has a tremendous opportunity to not only improve the experience for hundreds of thousands of students, but also lead change in how higher education can more equitably drive our state's economy. While there are many considerations in your search, I'd like to talk about two key priorities for the next UC leader to address: accessibility, particularly for our state's most underserved students, and leadership around the state's economic and workforce needs. It's time to not only recognize but embrace that the average student today is not the traditional student. Today's students are more diverse than ever. Many are well into their 20s or beyond. Most have jobs. A lot have children of their own, and they juggle a host of responsibilities. Many are operating without a roadmap, being the first in their families to go to college. And their primary reason for going to college now is to get a better job. Most Californians will start out in a community college and not go on to earn a bachelor's degree. To better serve our state, the UC must serve these students, both directly as their university and also indirectly through the UC's leadership in the state. Some may think that serving these students will require a trade-off in academic quality or rigor, but these are the same ideas that kept women, people of color, and immigrants out of highly selective universities, the universities that develop our nation's leaders, for way too long. Building off of President Napolitano's increased acceptance of transfer students, the new UC president must recognize that transfer is a critical process, a critical access point for students who decide to attend college later in life, or who were stuck in inequitable systems that didn't allow them to matriculate into the UC immediately after high school. Devoting more resources to building the transfer process will build more equity into the system, promote the UC's integrity and excellence, and ultimately benefit all Californians. The next UC president should also recognize that there are more than 12 million Californians without a college degree, including 4 million who started college but didn't finish. Governor Newsom's budget proposal released on Friday underscores the critical importance of this population through his proposal to provide increased resources for online programs in the UC extension. Whether through online education, credit for prior learning, or other innovative models, the next UC president should be open to trying new approaches to ensure these Californians and the UC are not left behind. Some of this will be changes through the UC system itself, but some of it will be in leading change amongst California's higher ed system, the community colleges, the CSU, and private institutions. The Governor's Post-Secondary Council provides one such opportunity for more intersegmental coordination and collaboration. Beyond this group, the new leader should be willing to reach out to other segments and sectors in the interest of streamlining and enhancing pathways to the UC, through the UC, and onto good jobs and economic innovation. I've brought some research that California Competes has done, which will be shared with you after this forum, Our series on Back to College highlights the needs of adult students, and Opportunity Imbalance reveals stark inequities across race, gender, and regions in California. And there's even more research on our website. So thank you for reviewing these documents and allowing me to have time to share our recommendations with you. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions from any members of the panel?
Just really more thank you. This is phenomenal set of information and incredibly helpful. I want to thank you for this, but I want to thank you for the other works that California Competes is doing as well.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Well, thank you. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Next up is Reading and Beyond.
Good afternoon. If you have been able to hear a lot of those ones who speak with accent, you're going to have one more right now. I need to be honest before I go even give you a little bit brief explanation why I'm here and who I am. I'm troubled because I think in some ways a lot of the things this day should be almost the last one. So a lot of the things I would like to share has been already shared. I need to recognize that. Therefore, like you, I'm not going to talk about every single things I thought. But the other issue is it's a big decision of what you will be making for our community. My name is Luis Santana. I'm the executive director for an organization called Reading Beyond in Fresno, California. I started this organization 20 years ago because I believe education is the way out from poverty for people like me and many of you representing here. I'm also, I would like to be also been seen also as the other way you can understand why some of the things I'm going to say it is I am a member, I was appointed by the governor, former governor, for the California Partnership for the San Joaquin Valley, which is comprised of the 8 counties, they call San Joaquin Valley counties. So from Stockton all the way to Kern County. So I'll be speaking about that. And the last part is I'm immigrant. And one of the things I realized, and you are well informed, majority of the population connected, these students are immigrants themselves or their parents. So there are some very unique factors behind that. So as I promised, I'm going to have a very condensed, and I'm going to read, and I need a glass for that. As an immigrant and leader of a nonprofit organization dedicated in serving low-income communities in the Central Valley for the past 2 decades, I hope to see the new elect UC president come aboard prepared to create a condition for low-income students and the students of color, in particular male students, to enroll and graduate in an unexpected time frame by offering multiple opportunities to have students comply with the UC requirements, perhaps an increase of the combination of on-campus and online courses, while also increase class availability during the evenings and weekends. Finally, I hope the UC president is ready to establish internship according to the major of the student with the intention to be better prepared graduating students for the workforce. The other part I didn't mention, and that's pretty much what I'm going to state it, is part of the things we have done as organization, we looked over, instead to focus on the students, we look this in terms holistic. We're working not only with the child, but we work also with the parent, because we believe the isolated, the population in different groups may not be as helpful for a low-income families. I'll stop here because I got already a sign. So if you have any question, I'll be glad to answer.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm going to be fast. Thank you for your reduced presentation. But I want to underscore something you said, because you're talking about expanding access, and you noted the importance of holding a combination of online, on-campus classes, evenings and weekends.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. And yes again.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about? Because I believe, and I think this has been a consistent strain through all of the discussions today, that this is not just about tinkering with the requirements.
Yeah.
This is about a bold vision for expanding access to the greatest public university in the world.
Yeah.
But the only way to do that in a resource-constrained environment is through different models. And that is going to be scary for some people in our system, but we need a leader who can take us there, who can articulate a vision, who can work with a variety of interest groups, calm the fears, and actually say, we must do this, otherwise we are not fulfilling the mission of the University of California on behalf of the people of California, who, as we've heard, 60% of the school-age population, of the college-age population, will be people of color.
Yes.
Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think the only things that I'm glad I get your support in this understanding, because one of the things I was surprised when I mentioned this to somebody as a recommendation, the person said, is this not good for the city colleges system? So my answer, I think it is about time for us not limited that. So I'm looking forward to UC embracing that. If you want to expand the numbers of students, especially from the communities I come from, we need to reconsider the way we open the doors for them. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our final group is the Southern California College Access Network.
Good afternoon, Search Committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, and thanks to the College Futures Foundation for making this space available to us as well. My name is Allison DeLuca, and I'm a proud Triton and Bruin. I'm married to a bear, and I'm honored to serve as the Executive Director of the Southern California College Access Network. SoCalCan is an alliance of 85 college access programs in the region. For the last 15 years, we have been working together to increase the rate at which low-income, first-generation students access and complete college. Collectively, we provide direct support to more than 150,000 students and families in the region. Nearly 35% of our students go on to attend a UC. And we support them as they establish a sense of belonging on those campuses, as they're connected to resources, and we accompany them to the finish line. We wholeheartedly support so many of the ideas that have been brought forth today, and so we'd like to use this opportunity just to drive home some of the core values that we see that need to be embodied in the future president. We believe it's critical for the next president to be passionate about the power that higher education has to transform students' lives. All of our students go to college with the hope of advancing themselves, their families, and their communities. Having a leader who values this core belief will influence the way resources are allocated, policies are set, and supports are provided. We also need a president that will ensure the university is accessible to the increasing number of diverse students seeking a bachelor's degree. Each year, our network works with a significant number of qualified students seeking entry at a UC campus. And each year, it has become increasingly more difficult for our students to gain entry. The next president must work to eliminate the barriers that further inequities, such as using the SAT as an indicator of college readiness, and find innovative ways to expanding capacity to serve a greater number of students. Finally, we need a president who can relate to diverse student experiences and is committed to providing supports that place students at the center of the equation. I'm here today with Hazel Ramos, a second-year SoCalCan student attending UCLA, who will share her perspectives on the salient issues impacting students today. And I can't think of a better way to close out today's conversation than with Hazel's perspectives.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you for introducing me. I believe that the top two issues today's students are facing are the lack of inclusive campuses and the total cost of college. Unfortunately, UC campuses are not inclusive to all students. This includes, but is not limited to, undocumented students, commuter students, and first-generation students. Undocumented students attend these institutions hoping campuses will be safe for them and uphold policies that will protect them. However, there have been instances where ICE is being allowed on campuses. Although campuses enforce students on what to do if you're approached by ICE, the real issue is preventing them from even coming onto campus. The UC system and its new leadership is uniquely positioned to improve service and further the support undocumented students are receiving. Not every student lives close to campus or is able to dorm. Students are often commuting long distances and spend long periods of time commuting to and from campus. Campuses need to take these students into consideration when hosting networking events, informational sessions, and creating class schedules. Events are often held late evenings, at times where commuter students must leave campus in order to be home at a decent time. This excludes commuter students from receiving the full benefit and services of pursuing a college education. Many students arrive into these institutions not knowing how to navigate their education, especially first-generation students. First-generation students do not have the social capital nor the integrational knowledge other students have. We need mentorship and mental health programs led by individuals that understand the struggles first-generation students experience. Although we receive resources that help us reach a four-year university, once we get to these institutions, students often feel lost and feel as if the only option available is to unfortunately drop out. The next UC leadership needs to ensure that the cost of college does not become a deterrent for first-generation and low-income students to pursue a college education. Financial aid packages are not covering all the expenses a student has, especially the non-tuition expenses. For example, STEM classes require access codes and paid memberships in order to do homework. Our textbooks are ridiculously expensive and are required to learn the material for the class. Students oftentimes have to work minimum wage jobs and work more than 20 hours a week just to have enough money to get them by the term. It is necessary to keep college affordable for all students, but especially for low-income students. For starters, tuition needs to stop increasing each year. Our families are not able to financially support us to cover the rest of our expenses. By creating financial burdens for students, it is discouraging us from achieving a higher education because we are having difficulties paying for school and outside expenses. UC leadership should address these issues by hiring a UC president that has experience or worked with the difficulties these students are experiencing. The UCs will not be able to prioritize these needs if they cannot resonate or at the very least understand these struggles.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the panel? Oh, sure, go ahead.
I just will note that at least two of our panelists are graduates of the UCLA Urban Planning Program. So just want to make that point. Thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you for being very specific, Ms. Ramos, about the difficulties that students you're talking about face, and the notion that our next president has to understand that, has to feel that in some profound way. So what's a question you would have us ask them?
How do you, like, what's a plan that they have to help these types of students?
Got it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That does bring to a close this forum. I want to again thank Monica and the College Futures Foundations for their assistance in bringing this together, and to all of those who made the trip here either to present or to listen to the feedback that was given. So thank you very much, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of the day, unless there's any other comments from...
Just for those who may be live streaming, indicating that, again, we'll be doing a town hall in 2 days at UC Riverside, and so the same website should be able to be streaming us then.
And I'll just remind people that this was live streamed, but it also will be archived on our website, so people can go back and watch it.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll conclude.
You did great. You did great. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your questions. Yeah. Good to see you. How are you? Good. What year were you?
I was 2001.
Wow.